hurt people, and unfortunately the people that are closest to you have the most opportunity to hurt you
and be hurt by you.
There's no way you're going to escape being hurt by somebody close to you. And all the more your person that you are doing life with day in and day out, that person is gonna hurt you the most often, and it's gonna feel like it cuts the deepest because they know all of you. Like, at least biblically, like marriage, it is not supposed to be this thing that just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like, I mean, ultimately I feel like the goal is actually to model the love of Christ. I don't think that it's supposed to be as self-serving as we go into it for. Like, 100%. We go into it looking to have all this done to you, but
all these gains.
But like, I really think, and I always compare like marriage, relationships, and children and parenthood. It shows you how to love. It shows you how to go beyond yourself. It shows you how to sacrifice and how to truly care about others above yourself. Y'all don't know how much like work and fuck ups it takes to actually put out an episode, and so yeah, thank God for grace, or even if I don't get it, I'm taking it. So okay, so this is actually an episode that we recorded a long time ago, but technical difficulties wouldn't let us be great. But back in the day, this was months ago. It felt like it was so long ago. Kendrick Lamar released a song called "We Cry Together." It was part of an album?
Yeah, he released his last album. Yeah, and it was on there.
Why don't I remember any of the other songs? I feel like.
Dang. It was a alright album. Yeah. I'm a J. Cole fan, so you know what I'm saying. Kendrick is always gonna be second best.
Oh, okay. I mean, I like him, but now it's crazy how like immersed in the album I feel like I was when it first came out, and now I don't
remember anything from it.
That's crazy. But anyways, this song in particular was one that definitely hit me, I would say, the hardest on the album, and it's We Cry Together. And I remember when it first came out, I was so emotional, and I was looking for like somebody to talk to. I was like, let me just tell Kimoy and see if he wants to talk about it. But it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And then in the days after that, I know I was in a bunch of different like discussion groups where everybody was like feeling this song and wanting to discuss it and everything. So what were your initial reactions? Like, was this relatable to you?
I laughed. Like, after I got done hearing it at the end, like, I laughed. And it was like a chuckle, because it was like, I done been in conversations, I done had days like that to where someone starts off kind of irritated, and they're just like, they poking at you, and when you know what the situation is and that you could just walk away, then you decide you got time, and so then it starts the back and forth, and it's saying a lot of things that a person might feel, but that ain't the time and place to say it, but you say it because it's going to escalate things even more. And then you get to a place where like there's a resolution. And so, yeah, I've had days exactly like that. And so I just thought it was, like, funny.
Okay. So you're thinking of, like that moment where you're, like, you know better, but you like, fuck it.
Yeah, because even
like
if
you said, like, I got time today.
Hear it out. That's how it starts. It's really, like, what are we even arguing about?
Yeah.
And then it's, like, a whole bunch of stuff that don't even matter.
Nothing that we were supposed to be talking about is what we're arguing about. Everything else. Yeah, for me, it was extremely relatable. Like, the emotions were palpable. Like, I could feel, even if I wouldn't necessarily say the same words, all the emotions that they were conveying, I felt. I could identify a moment in time where I was dealing with somebody and felt those emotions, and just like, God damn. You just feel, you feel like you're at the end of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I was like, this is, I don't know, the way that they captured it, to do it to a song to me was incredible. But it was really like theater in my ears. Like I could really feel everything that they were talking about, were trying to express, and were feeling throughout it. All right, so what did you take from that exchange?
One thing that we all tend to pick up is discommunication, how not to communicate with each other.
What not to do.
Right. It goes back to this conversation that I was having, and it was that for a majority of us, we've never seen a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And even the best ones that we can think of, where it was like our grandparent who they had been together for 30, 40, 60 years, even in those, they'll tell you there are things that they had to put up with, things that to today's standard metric will be like, ain't no way.
Yeah.
And so that just tells me that it's nothing but dysfunction.
Yeah.
And so it's what works for you. And I'm not saying that there can't be negative situations that have like negative consequences, but I just mean like in that, from the song.
Yeah.
That couple, that could have been just like a Wednesday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To where it's like, I know better, and I'm working on doing better, but we had a day.
Yeah. I feel like what I heard was definitely a lot of hurt and pain, but really the thing that stuck out to me the most was, damn, y'all been sitting on this shit for a minute. It was explosive, you know, that feeling. And I know that it wasn't, even though the words were harsh at times, well, that's all in perspective. That's, you know, relative to your idea of harsh. But I could sense that it was coming from a place of hurt. It didn't seem like, I just wanna like treat you terribly because I hate you, you're the worst. Like, it's like that deep hurt that comes from like truly loving somebody, truly caring for somebody, and then just like over time feeling like you're just taking L after L after L after L. But both of them were feeling that.
Right.
And it felt equally as like warranted from both sides. What do you think Kendrick's point was for putting this song out? What do you think he was trying to like convey?
I would just say that the rawness of relationships, right? Especially in the culture now where everyone is, there's buzzwords, you know what I'm saying, toxicity and narcissistic. Like, these are things that people want to throw on others, but in reality, it's hurt people.
Yes.
And when you spend time with a person, regardless of what they're doing, right? If you spend significant, like, you can understand their intent. And so, okay, I don't like that you did this, but let me think about the person that I've known for 15 years to think about, all right, in this area, they're typically not a shady person. So if I've trusted them or they've been, you know, how can I try and understand why might they do this to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was just having this conversation with another person about the hurt people. It's a friend of mine that is thinking about like divorce, and I just be like, child, this is going to come in relationship, not necessarily to this level, but hurt people, and unfortunately the people that are closest to you have the most opportunity to hurt you
and be hurt by you.
Yes. And the fact of the matter is, just regular human nature is going to make cashing in on that opportunity inevitable. There's no way you're going to escape being hurt by somebody close to you. And all the more your person that you are doing life with day in and day out, that person is going to hurt you the most often, and it's going to feel like it cuts the deepest because they know all of you, or as much as you as you're willing to share with anybody. That person's going to see it all. And then so the judgment from it's like if God were to be like, girl, oof, nah, you know, like the person that supposedly sees all of you,
everything about you,
is rejecting, like that is going to hurt the deepest. What?
No, I was gonna say, it just reminded me of, there's this Bible plan that I occasionally will read over and over again, and it talks about offense, and it's just like a lot of things that escalate to the point where it's might have gone too far. It starts from like an offense, like we were offended.
Correct.
And a lot of times, every person who's alive knows when I walk outside, there's a chance that somebody could say something out of context, without the right, in ignorance, blatantly, to try and offend me. Right? And I know that I can say something on accident, blatantly, all the different circumstances to offend someone. So if that is the case, and I would want someone to make room for the offense and say, hey, you know what I'm saying? Then that's what we should do. And so it's just, that's one of the things, you know, it's just like, just make room. All right, you might be offended. How can you work through that offense? Because a lot of times that's the difference between being able to come and talk to you and say, hey, and now we screaming and then the neighbors calling the police because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Before I go off on a tangent, at the end of the song, they said something like, stop tiptoeing around the conversation, or something like that. So I thought that was kind of like, they're saying to have those conversations before you get to this point.
Right.
Like, start having the conversation, stop bottling all that shit in, and then at the end, y'all blowing up at each other. And both of y'all love each other. Both of y'all are just hurt, and you can tell from the things that you're saying, like, have the necessary conversations. Yeah. Wait, go back to what you was just saying, because I had something.
About offense?
Yes. It's crazy how just hypocritical our nature is. Even if I know that, I'm still going to be offended and not necessarily give that person the same grace that I would want in the situation.
Right.
Because when you are offended, it's that emotional part of you that is kind of taking over. And so then that makes me, jump to the more rational side of me that wants to, okay, let's talk about this and see what's happening. But then when you don't get the right answer, it's like you like already on the edge. Like, give me one reason to fall into this emotion that's over here begging to come out, And so it's like, even with and you don't want to also go to the place where you are over rationalizing and then being treated badly because you're taking some of it out. I don't know. I guess you have to find a way to.
Just on that, right?
Yeah.
People can only treat you how you allow them to treat you, right?
Yes.
That's how it is. And so when it comes into making concessions, because a lot of times we and other people will take, we have sayings, you take my kindness for weakness.
Yeah.
Even in those instances, it's having that mentality, but understanding, no, it takes a lot of strength to show grace, to be kind when you don't have to, especially in the world that we live in. So for me, it's like, I can never, have that, it's going to allow someone to treat me a certain type of way, because there's a standard in how you talk to me. And if you don't respect that, then we don't talk, and that's just it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like...
Yeah, when somebody's talking crazy to you, that's an easy one. The harder ones is like, what's happening in this relationship, where it's like, oh, your mom made this shot at me and you didn't defend me, or this something happened. It's like those little things that you have those arguments about.
Y'all wrong. Go talk that out.
But the thing is, but we don't always handle things the way that maybe logically they should be, men and women. And so when I'm talking about the over rationalization, it's like you come to this person, you're like, all right, so you didn't know. Let's kind of talk about it, get through it. There's an element of just development that might cause somebody to not really understand what they're doing. And to me, that's the part that I get tripped up on, because that's when, like, I know rationally, I know logically what makes sense and what you should do. But I also recognize that sometimes when I'm explaining that, maybe it goes over your head to the point where your development hasn't caught up. You haven't matured in a way that you can understand and act on that in that moment. And I think that is the part that happens in, like, relationships seeing longevity. And not to say that you're going to be with somebody that is completely emotionally stunted. Like, I'm talking about people, because we all have areas that we need to grow in, and you might need to grow in an area that your partner is fine in. And so they're going to have to give you a level of grace that doesn't speak to logic or rationale, because you can do that. Your person can do those things already. You're still having to work through that part in therapy or whatever the hell may be. And so they're having to suspend the fact that this is what should be happening by logic and by an objective standpoint, because their person hasn't quite matured to that space in that one area. And that makes it a little bit difficult to know when you're being taken advantage of, because grace isn't just for like, oh, this makes sense. A lot of the times when you're having to extend grace is when shit is outside of what you would normally think is reasonable. Something that's reasonable, it's easy for me to have grace for. Something that don't make no fucking sense, that is when it takes, like, you gonna have to make me dig deep in my faith pocket to love on you right now.
Nah, I can agree with that.
That's the part that makes it a challenge, that makes these relationships and this shit challenging, because on the surface it seems like, of course, don't let him talk to you like this, or don't let her treat you like this, but it's usually, the fact is, it's not like it's a whole bunch of Neanderthals having this conversation. It's us. It's all of us. But somehow we all be struggling trying to figure this out, to not have this kind of interaction. Maybe, again, not to this level, but having these things that we just can't quite come to a resolution.
I'll just say, to me, it goes to why you'll see this on TikTok. There's this, like, outside, they won't marry or date outside of their culture because they don't want to explain certain nuances. And I just think that that's what it boils down to. Even when I was listening and while I was making faces, it was, if I come from a world where, even in today's society, because I teach kids, and so I see them and I understand that though this person and this person live maybe 6 blocks in between, the world in which they live in on an everyday is completely different than another kid, or even me, who I had both my parents at home every day. And so it's just finding ways to communicate and articulate is always going to be a challenge, just because the form in which we do it, you know what I'm saying? Because
yeah,
I tell people all the time, like, my family is very, we speak specific to whatever we're talking to, right? About. For example, when I was going home and they were telling me, hey, your stomach area is looking kind of soft. Other people will hear that and be like, oh my gosh, are they calling? Yes, they are calling me fat because I'm getting fat. And so if I don't know exactly what we're talking about, then I could assume, and then it could be in this ambiguous. But when you talk to other people and be like, hey, I don't really think that shirt go. Now their feelings are hurt, but it's just like, oh no, that was just my way of saying, like, you know, this is what I pointed out and saw. And so when you start to try and communicate, you could be like, oh, why can't you understand that? Where's the level of maturity and understanding that offends me, or, you know what I'm saying? But it's like,
we all have
my whole culture is, that's how we talk. Like, I don't know any way else to.
We're all having people speaking 2 different languages with no interpreter, trying to have a conversation, and then just frustrated as hell that you don't speak the same language as me.
Nope. And
don't even recognize, like, how things are getting so messed up. All right, so what do you think this is a healthy relationship? What do you think?
I would need more to assess that, because the health of something, you know, can only be known up close. Because, like, I can look at you and think, oh man, she looks so healthy, and on the inside you could be like, I don't go to the gym,
garbage,
I don't do nothing, I eat McDonald's 6 days a week. Facts. Like, and so that's just me. I would never try to determine a person's relationship health without having intricate knowledge of that relationship. But even then, it's still from the outside. Yeah,
I think that's a safe answer. I think no, for real. Because I think when I first heard this, I think maybe just where I was in life, I don't know, or maybe just how it hit me. I was really trying to defend this as a healthy relationship still, But really, I mean, I think the exchange was unhealthy. But I think whether or not this is a healthy relationship, it could be, maybe. But I think that it would be extremely difficult to do the work that they need to do to get to that space of healthy, only because it's like a regular relationship has to go through all these trials and tribulations, call it a marathon, and then where they are with all the words that they said, they just put a 600-pound weight on their back and have to run that same marathon. And I think that because one of the difficult things in long-term relationships is the baggage that you create between yourselves while you're figuring out shit, while you're figuring out life, while you're growing, while you're learning to treat people nicer, while you're learning about yourself and how to react better, you're learning how to communicate. All these missteps, they kind of add up, and it starts to become that other person's understanding of you, and it's very difficult to undo that. It's very difficult to make them, to rebuild that. It's a level of trust, but to rebuild that perspective that they have of you, because they're interacting with you on a daily basis, flaws and all. And so I think that they're going to have to, they can't unsay the things that they said. Some of that shit had to cut deep. Like, some of that shit was real foul. You know, like, damn, you took all the things and you threw them in my face. You know, like you were saying before, how women will take that secret that you, you know, were vulnerable with them to, and then just use it against you. That was kind of parts of this conversation. Not all of it was that level, but there were some things that are like, you can't unsay that. So even if y'all kiss and make up, that's going to be in the back of their mind. They're going to know that you feel this way about them. I do think that it can be helpful, because this shit needed to come out. It just didn't need to come out in the way that it did. But sometimes once it's out there, now you have the chance to really address it and go forward. So then it's like, whatever she's saying, like, you know, I hate your mom or whatever, she don't really like me. Maybe it came out the wrong way, but now you can go ahead and attack that head on and build. And so now they know at least you're being truthful with them going forward. And you can say, okay, now what do we need to do to rebuild this relationship and really start from, this is the ground playing. This is the level playing field where all the feelings are out on the table. So I feel like it can become like I still think this has the possibility of being a healthy relationship, and this is a part of that journey. But I do think that both people are going to have to choose to invest everything into doing the work now. And like, doing the work doesn't mean like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a better person. Like, you're gonna have to sit with yourself, sit with each other, and start to really like understand what it is that you're going through, where this stuff is coming from, and how to respond to it better. And I think that's something that I know I don't think I did really intentionally in relationships, is sit with myself enough. Like, even though I feel like I kind of have a good understanding, like awareness of myself, but there's still a lot of stuff that is hidden even to myself, that I have to sit and have some time alone for a couple days, just to have a good 30 minutes or something to really sit with my thoughts and understand, like, what do I want? Where am I going? What am I thinking? And I don't think I did that enough, not just in my marriage, but even in past relationships, even with friends, just sitting to myself. And I only know that now, just like during this break, I've had like a couple days to myself to really just sit and think. And that shit is hard to come by. And when we don't, like, all that shit that, like, I could hear in her voice, definitely in his, but of course I identified more with her as a woman, but I could hear those ways that she was, like, doing this shit that she didn't necessarily agree with for him, and I'm sure he was doing the exact same thing. But you start to lose yourself, because you start to, like, all right, this is what I need to do for the sake of the relationship. And at some level, you do need to make some of those compromises, but you have to check back in and make sure you're okay with them at some point before you end up down this path to where you're just like, I regret doing all this shit for you. And that's what I heard, is a whole bunch of like regret. Where do you think this couple goes from here?
Like that. Like, if these were two people that I knew?
That's the second question, but
they go to like the next day. You know what I'm saying? Like they go to because I'm gonna say like I've had friends who they'll get around other people and act like the two people did in that song. Like they'll talk like that to each other. They might even fight. You know what I'm saying? You'll separate them and be like, bro, chill, but you know, at the end of the day, they gonna get in the car and go home together. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know, that's just it. Like if you like, we can talk about perfect best case scenarios, but in the things that I've seen, like they just, you know, after the just like at the end, they make up, and they go on for how many ever days until something happens, and then it either explodes or they take the time to talk about it.
And then if you knew this couple, what would you?
What you mean? Oh, if they were receptive to advice, and
if one of them would not even just receptive to advice, if that was your homeboy or if that was your homegirl, what would you say to them?
Like, if this is the first time I've seen something like this, on the first instance, or has this been a reoccurring thing?
I guess
because
both,
they're different.
Like, how would you respond to both
if this
situations?
is the first time, you know what I'm saying, I am definitely going to mind my business in the sense that, hey, I understand y'all got something going on. Do y'all want to, like, bring the volumes down? Do y'all want to, like, go in the room? Do y'all want us to then leave so y'all can have this conversation?
Well, not if you were, like...
present for it.
Right, no, like, if you overheard it or if they came back and relayed the situation to you.
Oh, and then I would just be like, y'all got to find better ways to talk about that, bro. Like, y'all can't... And then... even listening to something, I'm gonna be like, bro, like, you was kind of acting like a, you know what I'm saying? You already know they're gonna fight low. They're gonna fight dirty. You already know. So being that that's how it is, like, you know you're not supposed to. Because, you know, Michelle Obama did say when they go low, that's not how they act for real. They go to the dirt.
Sir.
And so you always gotta... keep your composure.
And if the woman was your friend, if the woman was your friend, because that advice was clearly directed to the dude.
It was. If that was my homegirl, I'd be like, bro, you wild. Like, you can't be saying that kind of stuff. Like, you can't be hollering that. Like, how? I'd probably be like, look, y'all gonna stay together? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well then, y'all gotta go work that out. But if she's like, oh, I'm trying to leave, I'll be like, you better, because you ain't talking to me like that and be able to sleep comfortably tonight.
So I feel like my advice would be different whether or not they were dating or in a long-term relationship already. And I only say that because I don't know how strongly I feel about staying together when shit's happening that low, that early. Like, somebody got to come to the table, like, ready.
Yeah, I mean, if it's dating, definitely. But if you've been together if they've been together for some time, and I'm saying like years plus, established, you know, routines together. That, who am I to say, you know what I'm saying, leave, and then now you're unhappy because you just didn't know how to articulate in a positive manner all the things that you wanted, but you really wanted to be in that situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because I find, especially in today's culture, that happens more than it's talked about. How
for sure
people are in these situations where they're with people that they really want to be with, and they really are invested. They just don't know how to communicate their desired outcomes, and so when it doesn't happen the way that they want it, they lash out or they say things that are going to invoke a reaction because now we can talk about it, whereas we're not. What you want to talk about is the farthest thing from the mind now, because, like, you deliberately tried to upset me. You know
Correct.
What I mean?
Yeah, we talking about something entirely different. Yeah, I still be struggling with this because, I do still feel like a part of me is like, I don't know. There's a footing that I want, like, a long-term relationship to start on, and I think you can work through that. But I am still more a believer, like, once you get married, like, fight at all costs.
Yeah, till death. That's what they're supposed to say.
Yeah, as long as you're still, like, as long as both people are still in the ring fighting, like, keep fighting. But I don't know how, I feel like if you can get a solid footing first, then do it. But that depends on how much time you want to put in. And I feel like when you're dating, that's the time when you have the chance to discern, all right, this don't feel like it's going to turn up in the next year or two. Do I want to spend the rest of my life fighting for this, or am I okay starting over? You know, because
I'm going to put a clause in my marriage license.
What?
He or she who initiates divorce gives up 80% of their net worth.
I mean, that don't stop people.
Hey, man.
Well, let me not even get into all that. Yeah, because I don't know, lately I've been getting a lot of, like, women that I know that are trying to leave their husbands. And I feel so conflicted, like, when they talk to me, because, for one, I was the one that was left. So I kind of feel like, man, fight for it, you know, like, but I also don't want to encourage people to stay again in bad relationships if they don't want to be there. Is, you know, everybody do what the hell you want to do, I guess. But when they come to me, like, looking for that advice, I'm like, it's not, I don't know what you're thinking it's going to be. Like, I don't know that it's going to be altogether different with another person. It might be different, but it's still going to be hard. You're still going to get to this place where you feel like, fuck, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Like,
and now you have to unlearn every experience that you've had.
Correct.
It's outdated.
Correct. It's like, as much as I still say, like, my ex and I, there are ways that we weren't compatible, and it was a struggle to, like, do that work. I still feel like that was a viable relationship if both of us had the emotional capacity to keep on fighting. Because, don't get me wrong, we had a lot of good times, great times. Like, we were together long enough that it wasn't just, like, bad that whole time, whatever. It's just, and I posted that video that had Michelle Obama talking about, like, there was a moment in her marriage that they just didn't like each other, one person or the other. And she was like, a good 10 years. And she said they were married for 30. She was like, I'll take back 10 bad years for 20 good ones. People don't understand how real that sentiment is, because when you're in it, it feels like forever. But in the span of forever, your lifetime here on this side of Earth, like, yeah, it could be a little bit longer than you expect or want, where shit's not going well. Again, as long as you're not being abused, like, it is very difficult to pinpoint, like, what's too much, what isn't. It's pretty much
For
up
you,
to both of your emotional capacity, like, what you can handle. But anybody that's expecting to be in a relationship, like, unless you're just trying to just have casual relationships for the rest of your life, then you're gonna need to go through this. Right. So you can choose to go through it with this person or the next person or the next person until you run out of options, which that's probably gonna happen before you find the person that you don't.
Depending on your age, if you're getting up there,
not just age too. I mean, everything that you have, it's hard to keep yourself in, tip top, function or whatever to make yourself viable for, somebody to want to do that with.
We get better with age, so.
I mean, some of y'all.
Most of us.
Nah. Stop playing. Stop playing.
If the look's gone, he got his money right, and that's what they care about today. That's what they care about.
All right, you go ahead and hold on. Look
at what's the one with Diddy right now?
Young Miami.
Yeah, she do not. She can find more attractive men than Diddy.
But Diddy's not like somebody that I would say is, oh my gosh, look how ugly he is. Like, he is cute enough to be able to pull somebody at his age. Most men are not aging with the money that Diddy has to be able to have that kind of perspective.
They said the average millionaire is 56, so we don't know yet. Most men, I don't. Not too many of us grow old, so I don't know.
I don't know if that's a bet or something that y'all should be hanging your hats on.
Right.
I think that people need to just understand that relationships are going to take that work. You do have to find out what type of work you are up to the challenge to do, but also know that when you find out what you're willing to do, you're gonna have to do more than you expect, because you just can never know the dynamic of what you're gonna have to deal with until you're in that relationship.
I don't know. I for me, I just think society is too self-absorbed to really be in healthy relationships. When I say society, I mean the majority of people, because when you listen to the complaints and the things that people are saying that they're leaving for not getting or getting too much of, it's in the grand scheme of things, that's not important. You know what I'm saying? I'm not to say that things aren't important, but I'm saying, like, as time, you'll be like, oh, that didn't really matter as much as I gave it the attention it did in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some things do cut deep, but it's just, I don't think we understand. And I don't think that as humans we can have that level of unconditional love that God gives. But I think that is the picture, like, at least biblically, like, marriage. It is not supposed to be this thing that just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Like, I mean, ultimately, I feel like the goal is actually to model the love of Christ. That's just my Christian perspective. But I don't think that it's supposed to be as self-serving as we go into it for. Like, 100%. We go into it looking to have all this done to you.
Benefits, all these gains.
But I really think, and I always compare, like, marriage, relationships, and children and parenthood. It shows you how to love. It shows you how to go beyond yourself. It shows you how to sacrifice and how to truly care about others above yourself.
That's why I love working with kids.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't have kids, because I'm gonna be honest, it be days I be mad at these kids. Yeah. Mad, like,
I'll fight you.
And then they will come up into you knowing good and well they just piss you off and be like, can I have a hug? And you want to be mad, but you can't. You can't. So you give them a hug, and now what you mad about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're not even thinking to do, oh, I just pissed you off, let me come give you a hug. They just, in the moment, want to walk over to be like, can I have a hug?
Yeah. And then they go right on and not appreciate half the shit that you do.
Exactly.
And you still love. That is what we need to learn how to do with our partners. Like, they're going to hurt you. 100%. You're also going to hurt them. Back to that whole hypocrisy of it all. Like, we'd be so mad when our partner does some shitty thing to us, and we completely forget about the shitty thing that we've done to them, or don't even recognize it.
And it's also because we're not being realistic. Because just like I always tell people, it's the people who are the closest to you that you love the most that have the ability to hurt you. Yeah. People who don't know you. That's why when it comes to, like, internet comments and things, like, I'm glad I grew up in the generation that I did, because I don't care. Yeah. Do you know me? Yeah. Do you know how I make my money? No. So what's your opinion matter? But if it's like somebody in my circle, I'm gonna be like, dang, you couldn't tell me that, you had to put on the internet. Now we got beef. Right. Yeah. All right. So how do you feel this makes you want to approach relationships differently than you have been? The song?
Yeah. If at all. Anything that you take from this that makes you want to approach things differently.
Well, I don't have a conversation like that. And so if
hopefully
this,
not.
No, I don't. That's wow. Those are boundaries that I've set. I don't. Yeah. I don't talk if I'm upset. Yeah. So if I'm affected, I'm gonna go quiet, and so that's a telltale sign. But I really just, I thought it was good storytelling. They like to say that the music has an effect on the population. But I think that's the reverse. Like, music is just an expression of what we have seen, what we deal with, what we experience. And so that's all it was. It just resonated with an experience that I've had, experiences that I've seen. And so it's just like, that moment when we be like, oh, we all had the same childhood. It'd be like, everyone's been in a situation where we said some things out of character. Yeah. I feel like like I said, definitely wanting to take more time to
to sit with myself, more intentional about those moments alone, to really make sure that whatever I'm doing in the context of a relationship, I am checking in to make sure I'm okay with it. And that it's something that I can sustain. Because we do a lot of shit just doing it because, all right, we have to. No, one, you don't. Two, y'all talk about what you're able to handle, and then y'all go from there. Because if you can't handle it, you can't handle it. Y'all gotta adjust somehow. But like, it really just makes me want to be a little bit more courageous in having those tough conversations. Like, even now, I can feel it now when I'm dealing with guys, not wanting to push too much, because it's still that balance of when it's too much, when it's not, especially early on, and when you're just like talking to people, not knowing the full like context of a person. You don't want to jump in too hard, too fast. But sometimes you do need to have those conversations sooner rather than later.
I always try to establish a check-ins for that. So one thing that I do, if it's not bi-weekly, it's once a month. Like, well, hey, let's check in.
Before you're in a relationship, though?
Even then, because that is allowing you to let me know, right? Where are you swaying, right? Because 9 out of 10 times in the dating world, everyone's got options because there's so many. You don't know what a person's doing, and so it's just allowing, hey, even after, if we moving forward into anything, we have established that this is what we do whenever we need to have those tough conversations, or we want to put things out there. Hey, you know, I'm dating other people, but I'm interested in you, so I need you to step it up. Like, that's the kind of that's a tough conversation you can have in a check-in, to be like, look, what you trying to do?
Would you be comfortable if the woman initiated that conversation, or do you typically like to be the one to set that tone?
I mean, I liked, most women don't, that in my experience, and so that, but if she was down with it, I'd be cool, because it takes the pressure off of having those conversations. Hey, every once in a while we can talk about, this is the space to just air it out.
I don't know, I've tried that, but I mean, not a lot of guys have not been terribly receptive to how that goes. I think a lot of guys, because it makes them uncomfortable, it makes it feel like you're putting pressure on it. Still, it feels like to them. I don't know how to necessarily say it or do it in a way that doesn't. So usually I try to, again, lean back, but you know, it's that thing like, damn, I need to say this, but I also don't know how it's going to be received, and that's how they end up in this damn space that Kendrick was in this song.
Yeah, I guess I could see, like, from a guy, if like someone was to be like, let's have a talk, or let's create a space so that we can talk.
Correct. It's gonna come off that same way.
That would be kind of like, what you trying to say?
Why you trying to box me in? And it's really like, no, I'm not in that box either. But I want to see if we're headed to that box, or should I just keep exploring my options?
I guess it's just how it's done. Like, if it's done in person versus communication, because I like to have mine in person. The first time I bring it up, like, I'm gonna do it in person.
There was one dude that I was recently, like, just chatting with over the dating apps, and I initially started thinking, can we just like get to like a phone call, or like meet up in person or something? And he basically he said, yeah, we can. He said something like, we can meet up or something, but then he proceeded to like not like set anything up, and I didn't want to be pushy or whatever. But later I was like, I said something about, I know that my tolerance for the back and forth messages without actually knowing you, it bothers me, because I don't know your tone. I feel like shit gets lost in communication. It's just very shallow. Like, it needs to graduate to something a little bit deeper, at least in the initial phase, to get to know you. Once I understand your personality, like...
Did you call him?
No, I asked him for that.
Oh, no, because I'm saying, because most of those apps, you can call through the app.
So he said, I like to I like to do the app thing first before, so that I don't give my number out just in case. And I said exactly that. Well, guess what? You can do that on the app.
All I'm saying is, right, we get into a situation where, from a guy's perspective, a lot of things, every woman is different.
Correct.
So you have to always approach it cautiously.
Yes.
Because I've been in an instance where if I wasn't trying to get the number within the first day, I'm being unmatched. Now, if I'm asking for the number within the first 2 days, I'm being unmatched. And so when you don't know what to do,
but that's not the situation.
No,
here.
I'm just saying. I also said, looking back.
Yeah.
If it was down to, hey, we talked about setting something up, but I'm just like, why you ain't call me or nothing? You just call me. Because a lot of times, if it's me, I'm not thinking to call. I'm going to think to shoot text.
But if I said that and you said, let's meet up instead.
Oh, yeah. Then it's definitely like, push the conversation. But even then, it could, I'm just, playing devil's advocate. If I'm the type of person that I'd like to feel you out, right? Hear what you're talking about, even if it's through messaging, right? Let's say we have 3 really good conversations. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
2 or 3 interesting conversations to where, boom.
Yeah.
But let's say before we get to that, after the first one, it's like, hey, are we going to meet up or are you going to call me? And I'm just like, we can meet up. But I still would like to get to that second or third. Not saying that's me. I would still like to get to that second or third conversation while I'm in the midst of planning the meetup. That's what I'm saying for me. That's how I go about it, because people are sketchy, male and female today.
Yeah.
And so I like to pry in a way to where, like, I feel like I have an understanding of the person that I'm going to meet. Or it's we didn't have any conversation and we're just going to go meet. But then it's in an area that I know.
Yeah, open, yeah. Yeah, I just ended up unmatching because I didn't feel like it. And not because, and that's where I was like, I always weigh things to see how it's going to be. And I've had plenty of interactions like this where he just says what he needs. Like, what I felt in that moment was the resistance of, like, being open to, what I laid out on the table. Hey, it's difficult for me to connect this way. I don't mind staying on the app, whatever the case may be, but I can't get, unless I'm writing paragraphs to you, I can't get to know you very well with the back and forth short text messages. It needs to be a little bit more, because I have also had those experiences where I've had text messages for a long time, got on the phone, didn't work. I've had conversations for a long time, met up, didn't work. And I knew it immediately as soon as those things happened. I knew it immediately when we got on the phone or immediately when we met each other, because people are dynamic. There's so much that goes to a person that you're able to glean information from all those different things. And to me, I guess maybe as a woman, and I don't know if men are similar. I know that you guys, compartmentalize things. But for most women, if you spend enough time with a guy, you spend that kind of conversation, you start to get feelings for them. You might just, even if it's not real, it's just that lustful, like, infatuation stage happens. And so I like to try to prevent that at all costs, if I can, because I know that's when the emotions start to go high, and it makes it hard to make, rational decisions at that point. So I'm like, I want to get a full picture of you before I even allow myself to go down that path. And I know that through the message, there's so much things that a message with a stranger can't tell you. I don't know your voice inflections. I don't know your tone. I don't know your, like, sarcasm, your humor, all those things. None of that can be detected through a text message with a stranger. So I don't mind going back to text after we have had a couple initial conversations to see if we vibe. But that whole back and forth through text, I'm not going to spend 6 weeks sending text messages back and forth with you. Because if it's going to end as a friendship, which is absolutely fine, I can choose whether or not I want that up front. I don't need to, like, wait 6 weeks to finally hear your voice and realize I hate you. I actually don't ever want to speak to you again. And that has absolutely happened. And that's because there's so many people out there that are so varied and so different. Like, you'd be surprised how different a person can be from text to phone conversations to in person. But I give everybody the same, right to make that choice. And that was why I unmatched, because that to me is going to be indicative of a lot of other things. There's already a power struggle. I don't know. To me, it just gets really like tedious, but to each his own, I guess.
To me, I really feel there's an illusion of options that men and women
online
are falling under, and so any reason to just kind of be like is a reason nowadays. Because I know for me, people who meet me in person after we done talked for a while, like communicating not in person, they be like, oh my God, the person I thought you were gonna be is not the person that you are through our interaction. I get that more than not, how the conversation was whatever one way, but didn't think that I was gonna be maybe as fun or relaxed, or you know what I'm saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right, but I'm saying, that's people where I don't know, men, right? In different situations, we're the same, but we're different people. Like, me at work is me, but that's the work me. That's not the at home me.
I mean, that's people.
But that's what I mean. Like, me on the phone versus me in person versus me in text message is different, because it's the medium in which you communicate. They're all me and how I communicate.
That's the whole point, though, is like in dating, you want to get a full picture of a person. Why would I want to know you in a vacuum, especially if the part of the vacuum that I'm going to be introduced to is the part that I like least? Like, why not give the full... You're just... Those people that are meeting you and liking the in-person you better than the person that they were messaging with, what if they didn't... Like, how long should they be talking to somebody that they can't stand? Not to say that they hated you or something, but somebody that they're not interested in by this way of communication. They're not really into you. And then they have to stay doing that for however long, and then find out that, like, that is not how interactions happen in person. Before social media, if you go up and you talk to somebody and they're an asshole or you just don't vibe, you're not gonna... Well, let me stick around and see. Like, most of the time that interaction is what you go off of. Not to say that you can't have another chance meeting, but you are trying to... It's like impressions mean something.
Yeah. No, I won't disagree. I just meant, like, at that whole, reason to a match. Like, say the text is cool, but then we meet up in person, and then it's just kind of like instant. And I was just like, that just, to me, it gives the illusion of options. Like, we have more options than we actually have, and how quickly we can dismiss. But that was from a personal... Oh yeah, because I'm like, experience.
if y'all don't vibe, you do need to not match. Like, if y'all don't vibe, if y'all don't work, y'all don't work.
I don't know. I just think that because everyone who I've ever been in a long-term relation with, that was always our first interaction. I didn't like them, or they didn't like me, and then after time, when it was always in-person meetings. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I'm saying. Like, it was always... I remember even...
In person is different.
It was like...
Yeah, in person, I'm fully for that.
Couldn't stand it, and then it, 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, but there's a whole dynamic that comes with meeting a person in person that you're able to assess, like, because there's a guy that I'm really close with now that I don't say we hated each other, but we surely did not like each other at our first meeting. But there was a respect that came with it, only because I was able to tune into other parts of his character that I wouldn't be able to have gotten through messaging alone, because not everybody knows how to write in a way that like displays their character, their personality. Like, it's just so many different things that you just can't see without meeting the person fully in person. So yeah, this whole like online, it's a resume that you're meeting, and that resume is texting you, and you are putting all the assumptions that you have on this person.
I would say I can see how some of them are resumes, but I always laugh like when looking at profiles or even because I'd be like, you're really not trying. Like you're trying to essentially catch someone's attention, and you are not putting. I can tell when you're not putting any effort into it.
Yeah.
Like why you got your friends in there? Why is your first picture of you like making a funny face? Like
I can tell when somebody's trying to like hide something or show a certain part of them only. Yeah. That's why you can't be stuck on these doggone apps. Like, any lasting impressions?
To me, it was just like a great depiction of real life experience, real life arguments, and how when you sit on things, like how it can just, come to a head.
Yeah, it festers. Yeah, so really just, it's hard to have those conversations, but like keeping it to yourself is not doing anybody any good because you are sitting there suffering in silence and upset that the other person isn't acknowledging it. And back to what I've said many times about how men and women are both doing a whole lot that is not communicated to the other side, and we are hurt because that person is not validating all the work that we're doing for that person that other person may or may not have asked us to do, but we feel, the love in our hearts has caused us to do this for this person. And a lot of the things that Kendrick was saying inside in the song, like it goes back to many of the discussions that we've had just about fundamental ways that women act, that men act. He was saying something about like why women don't have what was it, like women friends, they can't
essentially was saying the reason why like you stand on this plight for these things that you want, but you guys don't really support each other.
Yeah.
Like there's no real unity only when it's to say, oh, it's the man's fault.
Yeah, and like they can't actually get along outside of that. And then on her perspective, she was just talking about all the ways that she's done this stuff for your sorry ass, and you ain't doing this, and you not holding your weight. It goes back to all those fundamental issues that we're struggling through, that we are kind of pitted against each other by all these different forces outside of ourselves and some within ourselves, and we don't know how to resolve them, and we are just struggling because we're all hurting at the same time. So yeah, it's a tough dynamic. Relationships are, we still be wanting them, so if you do, then you got to do some work again, unless you're just trying to be casual for the rest of your life, which is your choice. Do you? But if you're gonna be in a relationship, you're gonna need to understand that this is part of that price. It's gonna come with it, and throwing something away. Because don't get to this level. Hopefully, you have the discussion way before it gets to the point where y'all are saying things that you can't take back, that are unforgivable. But doing that work is gonna come with any and every partner, no matter how good they may look on paper or how good things might be during that honeymoon stage. If Obama and Michelle, not to say that they're supposed to be perfect, but as perfect as a lot of us look at them, like 10 years, that's a long time to hurt, but 20 is a long time to be good, yeah, you just really got to sit with that when you're getting in a relationship with anybody, knowing how much time you're going to have to be unhappy possibly, or they're going to be unhappy possibly, and that not being an indication that the relationship isn't going to work or can't be healthy. But that's it.
I would just say, in all aspects, in all your relationships, you want to be able to have those hard conversations. Create a space, right? Create a space, and in a way so that everyone understands, whether it's parental, whether it is romantic, whether it's like your friends, so where we can come in and say, you know what, ain't even gonna lie to you, the world is it's falling on my head. Yeah. And so that they can feel, because otherwise ain't nobody gonna talk, because we don't trust nobody, and we just gonna blow it when we get upset.
Yeah, and we feel scared to say. We all feel like, I don't want to make them feel some type of way. I don't care. All right, yeah, I don't know. This is a really tough thing to understand and wrap our heads around, but we're all kind of going through it. So just wanted to shed some light, knowing that all of us are having a similar struggle at some point in our lives. But anyways, thanks as always for rocking with us. Please check me out on social media at is_Alexis. That's ISS_ALXSS. And on podcast platforms at Lex Talk, LEXTLK. And Kimoy?
You can follow me at It's Really Kimoy, KIMOY. For anything business related media, look at Samuel's Key Media. Spell exactly how it sounds. Samuel's Key Media.
All right. Catch you guys in another episode. All right. Bye.